Signature experience actually comes from the concept of emotional intention. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Employee satisfaction, again, is typically a result. It's the outcome. What we look at is how much training do you get? Is it useful? How much coaching do you have? How many one-to-one do you have with your manager? For a very long time, consumers who are buying luxury products didn't really care about sustainability. They assumed that brands were doing their job. Actually, our view is that there is going to be a tsunami of customers who are going to give the brands absolutely no choice when it comes to being absolutely perfect when it comes to sustainability.
Welcome to Beyond Luxury, where we explore emerging trends and take them one step further. Join us as we redefine the meaning of luxury in today's ever-evolving world. Building on the themes of my book, Beyond Luxury, The Promise of Emotion, we invite thought leaders from fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, hospitality, culture, and tech to share their insights and story. Welcome to part 2. If you haven't caught up with part 1 yet, I highly recommend starting there. It sets the stage for everything we're about to explore. Let's get right back into it.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about MPS and what it means to you at CXG?
Okay, NPS is a fantastic, I would say, system that has been really, really useful to bring the CX conversation in the C-suite. Okay, CX conversation usually were not reaching the C-suite, and NPS, being invented by Bain and the friend Ray Charles, basically made its way all the way to the C-suite. It's a fantastic tool. We obviously have it in our toolbox of measurement tools, but it has limitations, like any tool.
Can you describe what MPS is, just in case it doesn't?
The Net Promoter Score, and there are two things. There is a Net Promoter Score and the Net Promoter System. So the Net Promoter Score is really the grading from 0 to 10 of a question, which is, would you recommend, everybody has received it probably, would you recommend this brand to your family and friends? And you're going to be scoring from 0 to 10. Okay, 0 to 6, you're going to be a detractor, meaning that you're going to be basically having negative conversation about the brand. 7 and 8, you're a fence sitter, you're neutral. And 9 and 10, you are an ambassador. 9 and 10 are the people you're going to be finding, waiting for the new Apple iPhone, queuing at 5 a.m. on the Fifth Avenue. Right, those are the ambassadors. Right now, there are a number of things which are happening when it comes to NPS. The first one is that there is a bit of survey fatigue. How many of those surveys do we receive every single day? Tons. How many of those surveys do we really want to answer? Not many. How do we select? It's based on the experience we had. Either our experience was disastrous, in which case you're going to say, I want to tell them it was bad, and you're going to take 5 minutes of your time to answer. Or it was absolutely fabulous, and you're going to say they deserve my praise, they deserve my feedback, and you're going to do it. What does it mean? It means that the result of NPS are very polarized. Very polarized. You either have very happy people or very unhappy people. Quite often what's happening is that when you have a negative score, and I've had the experience multiple times, and you give a negative feedback, nothing happens. So it's a bit, what we said earlier about technology, when you create an expectation and you don't deliver on this expectation. When I spend 5 minutes of my time telling a brand what happened, I would expect them to reach out and to tell me how they intend to make it good with me. And they don't, or they rarely do. Right, so that's one issue. The second issue is that quite often brands have linked commission with NPS. And that gives us behavior which are unethical, which are not genuine, when sales associates are going to come to you and ask for a 9 or a 10. And that happens all the time. Right. And lastly, what do you actually do with the NPS result? Right? Knowing that those results can be interpreted very differently, whether you're in the US or in Japan. Again, Japanese people, because culturally it takes a lot for them to recommend something or someone, would very rarely give you a 9 or a 10. It's an exception, right? Whether, on the other hand, the Americans tend to give 9 and 10, very easily, right? So
I would even argue that in France, it's like that too.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect in France,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. French people are difficult,
Yes.
right? I can say that.
You're not a 10. No one's a 10, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's very, very
Absolutely.
cultural.
So of course you can always, you can align the data or redress the data once you have it, knowing those cultural differences. But at the end of the day, the big question is always, what do you do with this data? All right. Are you going to really be able to use it to train the team, to help the team develop? And too often the brand have been believing, and because the NPS provider are SaaS providers, they are technology companies, and their marketing message has been NPS is going to solve your CX problems. And obviously it rarely happens. NPS is it's important, you need to have it, but it's one indicator. You need a lot more indicators. It's not enough to fix your CX problems, obviously.
Interesting. What about going into the sustainability space? How are you been consulting for brands and advising brands on going into a more sustainable path and purpose-driven path while also keeping that exclusivity, that feeling of emotional resonance, and that allure that a lot of brands want to keep even when they're going into those paths?
Right. For a very long time, consumers who are buying luxury product didn't really care about sustainability. I think they didn't care for multiple reasons. The first one is that they assumed that brands were doing their job, right? And that they were doing ethical sourcing and there was nothing to worry about. It was quite unimaginable for them to believe that there were any supply chain problems within the luxury industry. The second thing is that probably comparing to fast fashion, when you buy a luxury product, you're buying one or two, but it's, those are small limited editions versus fast fashion. So you kind of don't have the same sense of guilt when you buy a luxury product. Now, what we see happening is obviously a new generation of consumers who are very, very concerned about those matters, and they want the luxury brand to be perfect when it comes to sustainability. Actually, our view is that there is going to be a tsunami of customers who are going to give the brand absolutely no choice when it comes to being absolutely perfect when it comes to sustainability. To me, blockchain and the ability for brand to really track the product and to give traceability is absolutely key. And probably it's something that could, in a time when the business is a bit more difficult for luxury brand, it's probably, to me, one strategy to pursue that would make the luxury brand, again, very, very different, very unique. When you look at this luxury shaming that has been happening, when you look at the dupes, those duplicate items which are being purchased in some market because, people consider that, well, this is the same. It looks the same. It feels the same. Why should I spend so much more money? Well, to me, the differentiating factor that luxury brand can play on or should be playing with is really this sustainability factor. That's Absolutely. Really important. Now, what we observe is that even though the brand is doing things, even though the brand is really making a lot of effort, this message is rarely delivered at store level. So sales advisors are not equipped to talk about sustainability. There is still a fear that if you start this conversation, you're going to be losing your sale, right? So, unless asked, it's better not to talk about it. Right. But my view is that it's a journey, and customers can very well understand that what matters is that the brand is serious about it. The brand is on a journey, and having clarity, transparency on what the brand is doing today and what the brand is going to do in the coming months and year to reach a certain destination. But again, I think there's a bit of luxury is about being perfect. Right. So luxury brands don't really like to say it's work in progress.
Yeah.
Right. We are on a path. We are on a journey. No, we need to already be at destination. But I think there would be value to be very open about this because people understand that it takes time. Those are big systems to change. And again, transparency pays off.
In the Beyond Luxury episode with Christophe Caïs, we delve into the nuances of building exceptional customer experiences. CXG helps uncover those blind spots and guides brands in cultivating a sustainable CX culture that embraces the full picture. When we think of customer experience, it's often front and center interactions that come to mind: the personalized service, thoughtfully designed shopping environments, or seamless digital journeys. But the real magic happens behind the scenes. Customer experience should be viewed as an interconnected ecosystem, not just a series of touch points. It's not only about what customers see, it's also about what they don't see. The best customer experiences are built on a foundation of operational excellence, comprehensive training, and a culture that aligns every part of the brand. These elements are crucial components of a strong employee experience. If even one piece falls out of sync, the entire experience can unravel, no matter how polished the surface might appear. By viewing CX through three distinct lenses, those of customers, employees, and CX experts, CXG identifies and addresses issues at their core, setting their clients up for long-term success in luxury CX, rather than just offering quick fixes. When you build a CX ecosystem that's robust behind the scenes, it reflects in every single customer interaction. CXG is a proud sponsor of the Beyond Luxury podcast.
Yeah, I think today it's a big value to be transparent and to be able to see that transparency as well. So I love that you mentioned blockchain, because I mean a lot of luxury brands now are going towards that direction. There's 7 brands now in Richemont Group. There's several brands in LVMH.
Yeah.
There's Aura Blockchain that has been working a lot with luxury brands, not only for provenance and authenticity, but also for sourcing of those items and seeing where those sourcings are coming from. And that also helps a lot to give transparency to that consumer.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of technology also really helps give validity to this journey of sustainability, because every single brand, as you say, it's very complicated for luxury brands because you are supposed to be perfect and you are also expected to be perfect. And I think that's also a difference in this expectation, I think, is shifting a little bit, where we're accepting a little bit more of transparency and vulnerability from brands, especially when it comes to social movement topics and sustainability topics. And they rather you not greenwash and actually be transparent than be mentioning all these statements, right?
Yeah.
And so talking also about tech, I'd love to know your thoughts about AI, because it's a big topic in the world of luxury today and in every single part of our lives. But I think that there's some leaders in the luxury industry that have very rapidly adopted AI and have been using it very successfully, and others that are a little bit more, they respect it and they see it from afar and not exactly sure how to incorporate it into their business to make customer experience and their business models work more efficiently. What do you think, and how do you normally approach this topic with big brands?
Yeah. Well, what we see, as you said, we see brands who are venturing, who are experimenting, and some of them are still carefully watching, I would say. When it comes to customer experience, we see a few experiments as well. I mean, AI has been used in supply chain in many areas. AI is obviously used in marketing quite a lot. AI is enabling brands to go towards, I would say, hyper-personalization, obviously. But when it comes to CX, it's quite slow. It does take a bit of time to arrive. It's probably going to come, but for the time being, we don't really see it. What we are today looking at is how can we, with the help of AI, develop training programs which are really customized to sales advisor, depending on their current competencies. So we are really working on our side at using AI to help those sales advisors get the training they need, for instance, right? Which in essence, if they do get it, will deliver a better customer experience. Now, brands are also obviously using AI when it comes to using chatbot and all that, but it's still at an early stage. But there's a huge potential, obviously. There's definitely a huge potential because AI is able today to communicate with people at an emotional level as well, which is fascinating, and in some cases, can do that even better than a human.
Yeah, The potentials of AI are endless and very exciting to see where we can go with this technology.
Absolutely.
And as we were mentioning before, it's about how you use the tool and not the tool itself, right? So I think if we use it in the right way, it can have very, very beneficial just results for and the client and the business and the whole ecosystem that you've been talking about.
Correct. I would say what's important is really, and this time around it needs to happen, is really to make sure that you involve the retail team in all those evolutions, because they are task saturated. What salespeople, sales associates used to do 20 years ago and what they are asked to do today has grown exponentially. So we need to be mindful of how much bandwidth do they still have to do something. And to me, AI needs to come to make their life easier. It has to simplify and not complexify their job. It's a key element to me in the way AI is going to be embedded in the work of sales advisor, and how AI is actually going to help improve customer experience.
And you spoke about it a lot before, but the training around it too, because AI is such a scary topic for many people. And to tell sales advisors now that they have to use it might scare them away completely, right? So it's the whole training behind knowing how to democratize this technology and help people understand how it's actually can be their best friend is the first step kind of to bringing that together.
Stop everything you're doing. If you love our podcast and are passionate about the future of luxury, don't forget to hit follow. The more followers we have, the bigger guests we can bring on. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you.
I'd love to know also, there's a big part of CXG that works on talent and really looking at data-driven solutions to find the best talent and how to retain that best talent. Can you talk a little bit about, you have something called the voice of talent too, what it goes around that, and how do you really recruit the best, retain the best, and make sure that they're trained the best?
Yeah. There's a talent war that's ongoing within the industry. And what we've observed for a very long time is that brands have not been able yet to really expand the talent pool. And to me, it's not a matter of necessarily finding the best people within this talent pool, but it's really about finding the best people outside of this talent pool. So what we are doing nowadays is really providing brands with a service that we call talent scouting, which is going to help brands identify people who don't work in the luxury industry today, who might not have thought about working in the luxury industry today, but who have the potential to do so. And we do it by really evaluating those people where they are today, according to criteria which are relevant to the luxury industry. And then we come back to brands and we say, look, we have found that many people that are really suitable, that have empathy, that connect with customers, who are elegant, naturally elegant, and who would be doing a great job if they were to work in your store. Let me tell you a story. When I was in China, one day the CEO of one of the brand we were working for reached out to me and said, Christophe, I'm really struggling to find my sales advisor, and the reason why I'm struggling is because I want to find people who have empathy. And I don't find them by simply going to my competition. So how can I find people who have empathy? And I asked him for a few days to think about it. And I came back to him and said, look, you might want to look at nurses. And he was a bit surprised. And he said, why nurses? And I said, well, when you think about it, a nurse has immense empathy. And they have a tough job. They work 9 shifts. They are standing all the time. They are dealing with difficult people. So, and maybe it's a vocational work, right? And I'm not going to say that you can hire any nurse. Many of them will not want to come to work for you. But maybe some would, for family reasons, for various reasons. And he did find, he found a few of them who came. Of course, they didn't have any product knowledge, which is something you can train on. But within a few months, they were definitely able to talk about watches. And they became, within this network, the best salespeople because they had this ability to connect with people at a different level. Right?
That's so interesting. That's a very, bringing people from those thinking out of the box. Maybe you can you could name it, but I love that story.
And you know, again, a lot of people in retail today working for brands do that, but they don't do it at scale. You know, they are going to do it on their free time, and they're going to give a business card here and there. What we are doing is doing it at scale, which makes obviously a big difference, because then you can really increase the talent pool.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit now about you as a CEO. You built CXG starting at a small office with 2 employees, and now you're managing a $30 million business and working with the top brands in luxury industry. What are the most challenging parts of your job, and also the parts that excite you the most still today?
Okay. It's been a roller coaster. You know, it hasn't been a linear growth, not at all. We've had a lot of ups and downs. I would say, of course, the biggest down has been the COVID time, during which our sales went down by 90%, nearly overnight. So that was really a tough moment. I would say what drives me today, first of all, is my team. I have a fantastic team. It took me a lot of time to really put together a team of people who are not only very talented, but who also get along with each other, take immense pleasure at working together. I have an approach which forbids any type of policy in the company. So I have zero tolerance for people who have, I would say, you always need a bit of policy, but I'm going to say toxic or negative political games. This is completely forbidden, and I had to let people go sometimes at executive level because they were playing those games, right? So to me, I have a team today who's, in terms of mindset, in terms of culture, is very, very healthy. They are driven, and we all are going in the same direction, right? And that's, to me, I wake up every day saying I'm going to work with those people, I'm going to speak to them, I'm going to spend time with them, and that's a pleasure. I really love doing that. The second thing is that our industry, which is a beautiful industry, is constantly changing. We tend to look at luxury as an industry which is very traditional. It's not. It's anything but traditional. They're really looking at trends. They're constantly looking at... They've missed some of the tech turn at some point, especially when e-com arrived. Many of them were very reluctant to go towards e-com. But it looks like nowadays they don't want to miss any new trend coming up. Right? So they're very active, they're very aware, and they're trying a lot of new things. And it's fascinating for us to be working with those brands, which are, again, beautiful brands with a lot of heritage, beautiful story, but also this willingness to adapt, to change constantly. And our business is about transforming, helping brands transform experience. So we have a big role to play, and we do play it with all those brands when they are in the process of changing.
Fabulous. And what do you see the future of CXG looking like? What would be your goal to see in the next years?
I see it very bright, of course. Now, it's a journey that's ongoing. What we see, obviously, in the industry is that experiential luxury is coming and is somehow merging with the rest. So we are looking today at opportunities to develop our activity in F&B, in hospitality. We have conversation with various people. I cannot tell you more today, but this is really a strategic direction that we've decided to take. We are investing a lot into data. We've hired our chief data officer a couple of months ago, so this is very new for us. We're working at developing. We have, believe it or not, we have 30 people in tech in Tunisia, developing dashboard, developing apps that are already our proprietary tools and which are helping brands visualize the data that we provide. So we are in this, we are not a data company, but we are, I would say, getting ready to leverage a lot more on data. My conviction is that at some point, once you have customer experience data, employee experience data, training data, but also transactional data, and maybe one day HR data, you can start to look at retail, and you can start to think about a model for retail. And I'm not going to say predictive model, but you can start to look at a model that actually works. And being able to tell brands, if you were to do this and that, you would most likely get those kind of results. This is really, my ambition. I know it's a bit far-fetched, it's a bit far away, but this is really where I see the company going as we move forward.
Absolutely, and I really hope that you get there quicker than you think. And it's great because you've been talking about ecosystems since the beginning, and it really does seem like you're not only talking about ecosystems, but you're building that ecosystem for retail. So thank you so much for this fascinating talk. It's great to see how big a big experience consulting group like yours is leveraging data to actually make the best human connection in store and in the ecosystem of the brand as a whole. So I really appreciate all of your insights today and sharing of experience. Thank you so much for your time and for sponsoring the episodes of the podcast. And I hope to see you very soon.
Thank you so much, Carlotta. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
For weekly updates on future trends and the latest insights and data on the luxury industry, be sure to follow us on the Beyond Luxury's weekly Substack. Discover our bespoke trend reports and come to us for luxury futures consulting at Beyond Luxury Group.